So we're gonna go ahead. All right, guys, we are rounding around the corner of the end. We're almost at the home plate. I believe we are in session 15 tonight, which is working buyers and sellers. And we are going to dive into the material. Up until now, we've spoken a lot about our job, the transaction, as far as our value proposition that we bring into the job, how we get the transaction, lead generate for the business, the clients, the customers. And then we are now in the session of working actually with buyers and sellers, influencing them to choose and sign contracts, make the agreement and the agreement to closing. So here we are, and we're going to go into our material for session 16. So we also have here our student manual. We are about in the 200 pages for the student manual. And I'm going to encourage you that you open up student manual for this, because there will be some things that I'll ask for some readers. And I also, the quicker that you are to volunteer, the more smoothly we get through the material. So just get your speaking voices ready, and we're going to dive in. So, okay, working with buyers and sellers. One of the things that we did not go through in depth last session was the seller conversation and the seller questionnaire, and walking, and we did that a few sessions in back in the beginning, knowing what buyers and sellers both wanted. And so I'm just going to encourage you to go back into session 15 and really look through those seller conversations and role play them with yourself. Maybe get a partner, practice before you're going out there. And you don't want to practice on the real people, right? So like I said, we did the expert section, we did the lead generation section, we did the lead follow-up and more follow-up and more follow-up. And what I am realizing, and what we're gonna talk a bit about the news that we heard with the lawsuit and how that might affect us, because what I believe is the follow-up, the secret sauce is in the follow-up. And you meet somebody, they tell you they're going to do something in the next couple of weeks, and you don't follow up as fast as you should. You meet somebody, they say a couple of months, and you just forget about them. You put them in the database and you think that's enough, and it's not. So that's where the lead follow-up comes in. However, in the follow-up, what are you talking about? We have a lot to talk about now that we have this lawsuit here, where it may really, really affect how we as real estate agents are getting compensated. We truly need to know what the functions of an agent, a fiduciary agent, the functionality, the functionary agent versus the fiduciary agent. However, we should know what the functions of the agent are, and then the fiduciary that we carry into the relationship. And that is going to hold, well, that's going to carry us into this season that we're in, where we may have our commissions questioned, right? So working with buyers and sellers, the one thing that I said just a little while ago is, we're so used, and on the morning show we were talking about this, we're so used to getting a seller contract, right? Like, we're going to work with a listing and we're going to go market that listing. We're going to host open houses. We're going to put our name on it, put a sign out front. And we're not going to even think about doing that without a contract. We're not even going to think about doing that without holding that seller to X amount of months, because you know what? If I do something in the first couple of weeks, it will carry. So maybe we don't get a contract in the first week, but the week 3 it comes in, it's because of my efforts. And you're not going to go ahead and do that without some sort of time frame, some sort of contractual agreement with them. So why don't we look at the buyer relationship the same, right? We should. We really, really should. And some of the things that are going to come into play is, and I want us to understand what was the lawsuit, was our commission being questioned, paid out by the seller. So why does the seller have to pay both sides of representation? Why would the seller need to pay the seller's agent and the buyer's agent? That was the big, challenge. So what it's leading to is that the buyer's agent will have to obtain their commission in an unconventional way, the way that we're typically used to receiving our commission. So the language around that is going to have to change. The language around working with the buyer is not just, yeah, get in my car, we're going to go show you some houses. Or, oh, I met you at an open house. Oh, great. Let's go see some houses on Tuesday. Like, oh, what does it cost to work with you? Nothing. The seller pays it. That is not going to be our language anymore. We're not going to be sure that the seller pays it. I don't personally think it's going to affect the market right away. I'm not sure if the sellers will have confidence that somebody's going to sell their house or show their house without compensation. I mean, that is the one good thing. We're in New Jersey, New York. So some people are like, oh, I don't believe that agents are going to run around for free. So I get why I might have to have an offering out to an agent. And yet it might not be what we're used to, right? We might have to secure our commission in other ways. So the best thing we can do is know what our self-worth is. If we know what our self-worth is, if we know how we service a buyer and we're confident that there is value to that, well, then we will say no to business that is not worth our time. And there will be times that you will say yes to business that you might not get paid on, but you know it leads to other business. But I'm not going to ask you guys to get into that habit. Like, well, you're going to get a listing out of it. So it's okay. It's not okay to ask you to cut your income in half. And that is another script that you'll wind up using with buyers and sellers is that, well, Mr. Buyer or Seller, if I asked you to do the job, do it harder, do it amazing, I want you to show up as the best one possible. But you know what? We're just going to pay you half of it because that's the new law. We're only going to pay you half. How's that sound? How's that feel? Guess what? I'm not going to settle for that. I'm going to figure it out. Mary Beth is going to figure it out. You guys are going to figure it out. And so what we don't want to happen is we don't want it to affect our fiduciary relationship between our clients, right? So going back to what we were talking about, clients, first, they're customers. So everybody's a customer, potential to work with them. They are a customer. First, they are customers. And when we get our CIS signed, when we get our agency agreement signed, that's when they become a client. When they become a client, when we are fiduciary, is when they have a signed agreement with us. So let's just keep that in mind. So success with clients, period. Somebody go ahead and read this. Raise a hand, unmute. This is coming right out of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. You want me to read it?
I'll do it.
Okay, thank you, George.
Virtually every top producing agent we have ever worked with has a deep and almost inherent sense of service. They have a servant's heart and place their buyers or sellers' real estate experience above all else. They are always thinking service.
That's right. That's right. And if you think about some really great experiences you've had in different stores or restaurants or hotels, certain kinds of clothing chains, it's the service that you get, the experience that you have that you go, wow, I know what it feels like to walk in that. So when we talk about a top agent's service, and don't just think that our top agents, meaning top agents in our industry that have the most volume in units, that is all that we're talking about. Top producing agents are agents that, we're doing 24 transactions or more. You're hitting your goals. Top performers may be doing 1,000 units, but I just don't want you to look at this like, well, that's not me just yet. Every agent started somewhere. So always think service. Thank you, George. So we are going to talk about what that means. A great agent has client communication. There's 4 things here. They provide a strong foundation for sustaining relationship. So the foundation cannot just be shallow, like you met them, you ask them a few questions, you throw them in a database, it's over. That is not what we're talking about. We're talking about like, well, why are you moving and where are you going and why do you need to sell? And well, tell me about that. And what do you love about this house? Like, give me some of your favorite memories that you have here. Because when those buyers come walking in, I just want to make sure that they know like how much this house was a home to you, right? And you start to build a foundation sustaining the relationship. And that means just like your best friend or your mom or your spouse, can you really keep a relationship with somebody? Can you have a great relationship with somebody if you never speak to them? No, He can't. There's always going to be, there's a gap that happens. There's something that's missing. And yes, of course, you have those people that you could not see each other for 3 years and then you see each other and it's like you saw each other yesterday. Of course, but there's always, so the relationship has to be communication, constant communication. And it has to set and manage expectations. So setting and managing expectations is on you, real estate agent, right? Proactively going throughout the transaction. So just showing a flow chart, showing a process, explaining here's what's going to happen next. Even if there's somebody who does not care about process, to be able to say, hey, can I take a few minutes? Just want to show it. I just want to show you, share with you what to expect next and what the next month of our experience is going to look like. Yeah, I don't care. You could really, let me just show you real quick. Here's a visual, here's a snapshot. And then 3, creates peace of mind for your clients. Like, we're going to catch you if anything happens. We have our vendor list, we have our attorneys, we have other agents have been through things like this before, so we have a great network of mentors. And then 4, it enhances your credibility. You picked up the phone, you called me when you said you were going to call me, you showed up when you said you were going to show up. That right there goes a long way. You're credible because you are communicating. Now, so many agents lose credibility solely because they don't call the customer. Like, if you're going to take a price reduction, reposition the property on the market, you've been on for a little while and the prices are falling and or people are getting contracts and you're not. I remember there was a time where, everything was on the up, 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 up. It was about 2005. And then all of a sudden, the bottom fell out and it just turned. And it was tough to stay in relationship with those sellers that were used to hearing, well, if you didn't sell this weekend, you're going to sell next weekend. No big deal. Now the Monday call was like, hi, Mr. Seller. Hey, here's what's going on. Nobody sold this weekend. Here's what we're seeing. The next sale that closed was 5,000 less. Oh, we're starting to see it decline. And now we're catching up and the seller feels like we could have been communicating the whole way and he would have made a move earlier. Now we've cost the client money. Now we've lost credibility. If you've ever tried to get a conversation going like that and you haven't spoken to the client in 3 or 4 weeks, or in some cases 6 weeks, it's really challenging for them to just buy into whatever you're saying. So this is, tips from an old dog here. I can specifically remember one client screaming at me, like, who do I think I am now telling her to reduce her house when I didn't even call to say nothing for all these weeks? And she's right. She was absolutely right. However, to be honest, I didn't know what to say. Like, I was just like, can I say the same thing again? Like, nobody sold. Like, it's the market. Wait till next week. I was a young agent. I didn't know what to say. And therefore I created this distance because I didn't say anything. Just like a relationship, friendship, spouse, create a distance, cause a wedge, relationship can go poof. So remember, communication, setting expectations is huge in the ability to have great client communication and a great business. So the 3 levels of service with your clients is, what's the purpose? The purpose is sell their home. Purpose is to get them a new home. What's your value proposition in it? Well, I go and preview houses and I'm available every day at some point and I call people back, right? There's value proposition there. I'm willing to go do the legwork. For a seller, I'm previewing houses. I want to see what the competition is. I'm studying the market. I interview sellers to see, what their experience was like so I can 10 plus my experience with you. And then fiduciary. Fiduciary means I'm in your corner. I'm in your corner and all of the things that I do are in your best interest. So those are the 3 levels of service. We have inside of the student manual a list of functionary and fiduciary. And I'd love for us to just, what are some differences there? If you have the page, you can pull up the page and you can kind of skim off of that. But what is the difference between a functionary agent and a fiduciary agent? How might it look different? What might a fiduciary agent do that a functionary agent might not do? Right? So functionary agent is going to do the functions. The functionary agent is going to check off the boxes. Well, I opened the door, I let them in, I showed them the property. Fiduciary agent is going to maybe do some homework on the property, let them know what the taxes are, tell them if the deal died, pull the history on the property, maybe even preview the property before you go see the property with the client. I'm really looking out for your best interest. I don't want to waste your time. I know you don't have time. Time is money. And so that's fiduciary, right? Fiduciary is also, on a seller's end, making sure that you're marketing that house properly and you're not disclosing anything that the seller doesn't want you to disclose or that may harm the seller, as far as like, well, they're getting divorced. Well, was that necessary to say? Now people think, well, they're getting divorced. They probably want a quick sale. Oh, they're going through tough times. He just lost his job. Well, you didn't have to say that, because now I'm thinking, well, he needs to sell this. So he's going to take a contract with maybe terms that are in better favor of the buyer. So functionary, I have it listed. It's out there. It's available. Yeah, I don't call agents back all the time, but there's instructions there to send me the offers. Fiduciary is I'm available to agents so that they can ask me questions and we can hopefully put a deal together. So which agent do you want to be, right? Which agent, what field do you want to have? I would imagine you want to be fiduciary for your clients. So when you get a chance, review that. And then this here, it may all change, right? As of today, we have dual agency. As of today, an agent can represent both a buyer and a seller. Your fiduciary commitment is to your client. And so how do you go about that? And that can be a little tricky. And so here's what I don't want you saying. Well, I got into a relationship with the one client first, so that's really the one I'm fiduciary to. No. Here's the deal. Our broker, Adele DeMoro, she's a dual agent for all the deals that we have that are going on, that we have the listing, and the other side is also being sold from one of our Keller Williams companies. So the truth is, there's lots of dual agency going on inside of our own brokerage. And it's really Adele being Adele, the broker being the broker, representing both sides. We just happen to be, even though we're not considered sub agents, because there is no sub agency, but we technically are sub agents to our broker, right? We're acting parties. We're licensed parties working under the license of the broker. So who does the transaction is the broker. So when I sell one of George's listings, or Hermisi goes and sells Kim's listing, or even if Nicole walks into Kim's listing, we are all operating as dual agents. And you need to understand that, because here's what happens. Kim was talking about her client to George, and George now knows all about Kim's client because he was in the room, he was consulting with her. He didn't know he was going to have a buyer client for this property. And now he goes to a party this weekend and he finds a client and it's perfect for Kim's property. Well, now he's got all of this information that Kim has disclosed. Be careful, don't disclose it unless the seller wants you to disclose it, because now George has this information. And what is he going to do when he signs a buyer agency agreement with this buyer and the buyer asks him the question, hey, George, are they getting divorced? And you know it. Right? I mean, I'm not saying that's the worst piece of information you could give in the world, but now Mr. Seller hears that George was telling the buyer in the driveway that this is a divorce. And they're like, where is all this information coming from? So I just want you all to be very, very careful. And in today's world with Ring doorbells and all sorts of cameras inside the house, you really need to be careful. Sometimes it could just be, oh, I hate this house, or, oh, I can't stand this style home. And you said this, and now you're writing an offer and your buyer is begging for the house because they love it. And the seller hears you talking crap about their house on their Ring camera. Right? These are real life things. So just want you to be careful with that and understand fiduciary, understand dual agency. And so set expectations. If we could just unmute, if you can't do a video, set expectations. What would we be setting expectations around? This is real quick because we're going to dive into buyers and sellers specifically, but what are some of the things that we set expectations around with our clients? Well, said one is like, we're going to call you, right? When would you like to be called? How would you like to be called? What phone number? So the communication style, the communication times, texting, is it appropriate? At what time do you not take calls? What's the earliest that we can speak? Expectations as to how many times will we be going out to see properties? If you set the expectation that we will most likely go out to see properties 2 to 3 times and then you'll choose a home, well, now they're expecting that they're going to find a home in 2 to 3 showings with you. If you say, oh my gosh, I don't know, it could take us like forever, I don't know, or you never talk about it, you could be working with a client that goes in every house all the time, never tells you what they like or don't like, but they're just taking your lead. They think that they need to just go look at houses. And they're like, oh no, this wouldn't work. This wouldn't work. And so you're not setting the expectations. The expectations is you're not showing houses, you're selling houses. So when you take all your stuff and you're like, I'm going to show some houses, and you're leaving the office or you're leaving the house, don't say that. Go, I'm going to sell a house today, and walk out the door. Say, I'm going to sell a house today. So we set expectations with the buyer about when things are going to happen, how we communicate, just process, right? So we set all those expectations. When are they supposed to have their money by? When should they be liquid? I mean, the truth is, if you don't have money in the bank right now, we're not going forward. You need deposit money. Oh, you're getting a down payment assistance program? Great. If not, do you have cash in the bank? How much are you willing to put down? And 10%, 5%, 20%? That's an expectation. I know I'm working with somebody who's putting something down. We also write an expectation, especially if you have somebody coming in from New York. You have to set the expectation that when we find a home, we will write a full New Jersey contract, and that will be our offer. Why do I say that? Because in New York, they write an offer to purchase. It's a one sheet, and that goes over to an attorney who draws up the contract. So an offer to purchase is very different than a contract. And a contract in New Jersey, sometimes I've had New York buyers get a little scared, like, wait, you're asking me to sign a contract? I just want to put an offer in. And oh yeah, but in New Jersey, we put a full contract in as an offer. Well, what if they accept it? Well, then they sign it. And then we're at attorney review. What does that mean? So, you have to explain that. Otherwise, you could be showing people properties forever and ever. And 2 is review the transaction process. So this is your flow sheet. I kind of gave you guys inside of the Ignite Drive, the flow chart that I created. You also have inside of your buyer consultation, your seller consultation, a process page that will just put it in a nice one-sheeter for the client. But look at here, partner with an agent. First thing, well, great job. You partnered with an agent. So the next thing we're going to do is get pre-approved for the loan. Oh, you did that already. Okay, great. Right. So those 2 things are happening, usually getting pre-approved before they actually look for the agent. Right. And if they didn't, or if they just did some, oh, well, I checked on what I'm approved for on the app or on the mortgage calculator, I know what I could afford, then we know that we need to definitely get them over to our Movement Mortgage team for a full assessment. And then once we're there, and guys, remember the benefit to them getting pre-approved is that they can go shopping with like a real budget. And I always tell them, hey, listen, I would just hate to see you go out this weekend and look at houses and then find out on Monday that you can afford $50,000 more in a house, because then everything you saw was a whole big waste of time. And now, like, we missed some really great houses for the weekend. I would most rather you get solid pre-approved, understand where you want to go financially, and therefore they back you into a number, and we get a kind of a range as to what you're comfortable with, and then we go shopping. Because on the other side, on the flip side, we go shopping and you're not approved for that, you're approved for 50,000 less, and I promise you we're never going to find anything that we like, because now you just saw above your price point and didn't fall in love. So right? So don't set yourself up for failure. Know how to explain that properly. And then we're gonna set a clear search criteria. We're gonna get you on auto searches. I'm going to be looking every morning. We're going to find your new home. We're going to find your new home because we're going to be going out every day. We're going to be going out on weekends. We're going to go out on when can you go out, Mr. Buyer? We're going to make an offer, right? We are going to, and if you're on the seller side, an offer is going to be made. We're going to negotiate the terms. At that point, we're going to go into attorney review and go under contract. Then we're going to coordinate all the vendors, inspections. We're going to negotiate inspections. We're going to have an appraisal. We're going to get ready to get clear to close. Pre-close preparation would be getting that clear to close, making sure our mortgage is in line, and then we're going to have our closing. So we're going to review that transaction process with them. We're going to set time expectations. Inside of that process, we say it's going to be about 30 days for you to get a mortgage commitment, 45 days at most. I saw one come through in 2 weeks. Now, if you don't have that story, now you have that story. You know, one of my partners had one come in 2 weeks with Movement Mortgage. So setting time expectations. How about when they say to you, "Oh, gee, this is going to take how long is? I mean, when are we going to close? Like probably like July, right?" And you're like, "July? How fast you want to do this? We could do this in 2 months. We could do this in 2 months, 3 months. It's just how fast do we find the home? How fast do we get the home on the market?" Right? And it could take 6 months. We might go into a market again where it takes us 5 to 6 months to close. So setting time expectations, where would you find that data would be back into your statistics in your MLS to know what's your average day on market. Right? So what's your average day on market in this neighborhood? Well, the seller would want to know that because that's what the expectation is going to be set at. And then setting document expectations. Like I just said, an example with a New York buyer who expects you to see an offer to purchase, whereas in New Jersey, we write New Jersey contracts as offers. Other things, here's what throws people off is, oh my gosh, there's so many things to sign. Well, those are all disclosures. You know, when we get into business with other people, we want to make sure we're in business with them so that we're all clear that our title company and our insurance company, they're all working in conjunction with our brokerage. So that's what this affiliate disclosure is all about. Oh, okay. You just got to say that you know. So explaining those documents and letting them know that there are going to be quite a few documents that come over for them to electronically sign. So I created a packet for you, Mr. Seller or Buyer, with all the forms that you will see come through that computer. So at your leisure, you want to read through it. You have questions about whatever forms, take a picture, send it to me, but this is me setting expectations with the documents. And then setting expectations with the communications, really it is a lot about, would you prefer text, call, what time, and how often, and who should I be talking to? Because don't just assume the one that called is the one you should be calling back. I want to know who has the most availability and who will relay the messages to the other party, most accurately, right? So establishing that with your client is really important because you leave those appointments, and you're like, I don't even know what my next step is. But if you've explained all of this, they're going to feel really like they're going to feel empowered and you're going to know how to communicate with them. And setting contingencies. If you are not going to be available, if you are going to be away on vacation, I'm leaving these weeks and I have X, my team members will handle that. Or, this is our team. And so explaining that, so-and-so takes care of the listings, or this is my partner. When I'm not around, she's around. When she's not around, I'm around. Also setting contingencies would be, do you need to sell in order to move? So you have buyer contingencies, seller contingencies, and agent contingencies. You also are not going to continue to work with somebody who is not willing to make offers, not willing to accept offers, not willing to do, we're talking about the ready, willing, and able buyer, not willing, like you're in relationship and you're in contract with them and you're now understanding that this person may have been able and ready, but not willing. Totally not willing. So what do we do then? Do we just cut it? And they got to know that if you're going to be this way, we're going to cut it. But also right now we're seeing a lot of do you need to sell this house in order to buy that house? Yes. Okay. So you need to put a contingency in. And so we need to understand that, because that's going to change our strategy on how you're going to present their offers, what properties you might go looking for. And then set up-to-date market expectations. That would be setting them on an auto emailer. That would be keeping them in the know. And don't tell me that you're going to go and look at the auto emailer and you're going to tell them everything that's going on. You're not. So just set them up on an auto email. You also can set them up on a smart plan that will be introducing different things to them along the buyer process or seller process. So inside of Command, right up here, you would go in there and you'd dive into your smart plans, and you'd be looking for buyer follow-up, seller follow-up, or seller setup, or buyer setup campaigns, smart plans. And set expectations seamlessly with your KW Tech. This is where you can easily go in and set your contacts to specific tasks and specific smart plans. So when you've thought out what your what your system is, then you can go ahead and use your KW Tech to marry that, and kind of just let your database tell you what you should be doing. And for those of you who don't know, you have it on your phone, the app, and the app for Command is a red KW with a white KW letters. You definitely want to have that on your phone. The other one is the white with the red letters. The white with the red letters is the consumer app. That's how you search for properties. But the red with the white letters, that's Command. And inside of that, you can add contacts, you can set them to campaigns, you can set them to smart plans. You can text them through your Twilio app, through that app. So you can do lots of things. And also, if a lead comes in, and it comes into the app as well as to the dashboard on the computer. But when it comes into the app, you have the option of copying it to your database, copying it to your phone. So it's really, really great how it's been integrated with your phone to make it easy for your business to literally be at your fingertips. So once again, go to Ashley's classes for that. And I know she's got a new boot camp starting. Ashley's doing a 201 club. And I do believe Ashley is going to do a few nighttime things before the end of the year for this group specifically that can't get on during the day. She's going to do some specific tech classes for you so that you guys don't have to miss on anything. Okay. And 3 steps to gaining referrals, because when you are working with clients, this is always the goal. The goal is that you're developing a relationship, giving them such amazing, great service. You know, they can't say anything like they didn't know anything. You were there the whole way. If you didn't know something, you went and got the answer. And now you've provided value. Now you need to ask for help. The help is, I'm glad that you're having we're having such a great time working together, Mr. Seller, Mr. Buyer. I have a great goal this year, and I want you guys to use this. My goal for 2024 is to help X amount of families find their home, sell their home. My goal for 2024, this is for all of you. My goal is to help X amount of families sell or buy a home. Can I count on you for 1 referral? Hey, who do you know? Hey, who do you know that I could be giving a call that you think wants to do something in 2024 in real estate? Anybody? Work? Church? All right, here's how you refer me. But you've provided enough value to ask for the help, and the help is humble. The help is, I'm looking for some help here. I'm looking to help 24 families next year. 24 and 24. Kim, that would be a great goal. We just did a little business planning clinic and Kim was there, and we identified 20 transactions for Kim, right? Kim, can we just up it so it's kind of cool, 24 and 24?
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, 24 and 24. It's like easy to hang on to. It's so by saying that to your clients and inviting them in to being a part of you helping these people, you'd be surprised how many people go, oh my gosh, sure, of course, let me think about it. Let me get back to you. And then it's your job to follow up with them. Hey, did you think about that? Did you think about anybody I could be giving a call? I promise you, if you have a high S, right, a high S behavior is not going to want to let you down, that they will make sure they find somebody to give you to call. And what did I say weeks back? We are rolling with about 70% of our population rolls with a high S. So chances are somebody at that table is an S, which is a stable, loyal, great team member doing it for the team. But if I'm going to help somebody, I'm definitely going to do it. Right. And then you ask for reviews. You know what? I just learned, and this is Ashley, well, in Command, there is not only a landing page, but there's a review page that you can create. And so when you're in your Command and you go down to the bottom of the consumer, the little consumer icon, you'll see there that you can create landing pages. Well, you can also create review pages. So you can just kind of make it so easy that when the customer is done, it would be part of your system that they close and you send out for the review. Or you take the listing and you send out for the review. And the review might be, hey, I just wanted to know what your experience was like sitting with me about listing your home. Now I've caught them in the beginning on the honeymoon stage. They're giving me a 5-star because I explained everything to them. In 3 weeks, they're giving me a 3-star because 2 of their deals died and no more buyers are coming through their house. So we also have to know when to catch the good review. You know, you would hope that at the end of the transaction, everybody's going to give the good review. And what happens a lot of times is everybody is ready to move into their house or move out of their house. And the last thing they're thinking about is doing one more thing for the realtor. So I'm just urging you to make your review part, your review capture somewhere, you know, sooner than when they're done and gone and out, if you really want to catch all of them. So if your purchasing or selling experience exceeded your expectations, would you be so kind as to give me a brief review? I'd also like your permission to use this in my advertising and marketing. And that is how you cover yourself so that you can take those quotations and put them in a cute piece and push it out to everybody so that you could see what other people are saying. Now, to one up that, there was an agent who did a really fantastic job of getting video testimonials of every single client. Okay. So she had a Facebook, because this was back in the day. And she had a Facebook, I guess it was probably an album. It probably was a photo album, which is videos. And I remember seeing all the boxes, like I could see the boxes here when I would open up her album, and the names of it was the name of the homeowners, like Mr. Bonilla, Mr. Fitzpatrick, 123 Main Street. So I could click on that and there'd be Hamisi being like, Mary Beth was amazing. She found her house with ease and elegance, and she was so fun to work with, and she's just amazing energy. And you're like, okay, so you see these people, and then you click on the next one, and it's kind of similar. I think I got a feel for who this agent is. So it may, maybe if somebody's willing to do a video testimonial that is a little more powerful, get it if they're not shy like that. But of course, it's a lot easier for people to just go ahead and write something. All right. So, okay, no problem. Let's do this here. So now, seller reviews and then buyer reviews. So give me some ahas on this part, because as we're going to roll into specifically seller and buyer and working with seller and buyer, what maybe could be what was an aha about just working with clients in general, kind of going above and beyond? Anybody pull something from that, or you're going to do something different? Make you look at something a little different.
I like that you said you're not showing homes, you're selling houses.
Thank you, Kim. Yes. I don't know why. It makes me think of, what was that? Was it American Pie? Or I can see, what's his face? And she's smacking herself. She's going to do an open house and she's washing the windows. What is that? She's like, oh no, do an open house, sell a house, sell a house. No? I'm going to find the clip, play it for you guys. But yeah, so it's like a little self-talk, but it's also in, how we speak out loud is what we're welcoming. A little bit law of attraction. You're going to keep showing them, or you're going to sell them? Okay. Thank you, Kim. All right. So as we go into the next part, it's just success with the buyer aspect. And then we're going to talk about success with sellers. So if we review what buyers want, help finding the right home. This is more than what half of them want. That is more than what they're asking. More than half of them, that's what they're asking for. The first thing, find me the home. I don't care how many you've sold, just find me the right home. So it's not really a great experience if they're finding homes and sending them to you and you're showing them. That's like the biggest complaint I get from people. They go, "Oh, I was working with the agent. I got to send her all the listings. Like she can never find houses. I'm always finding these." Right? You have a client like that, tell them they should probably get their real estate license, because those usually do make good real estate agents. But 52% of them are just saying, "Find me the home," which means go and look in towns that we aren't really saying we want to go buy in. Go look in price points, misplaced racks, right? The dress is on the wrong rack. Go look in the different racks to see maybe I'm missing something. Go look in the old expireds, old withdrawns. See if somebody's hanging out there that never sold. Georgette, do you have a question?
Yes, I do. Hi, good evening, everyone. So I have a buyer that's pre-approved for a USDA loan. I've heard of it, but I don't know how it works. Can you please explain how a USDA loan works? Thank you.
I wouldn't even try to attempt it. A USDA loan, I'm not sure of I wouldn't even want to botch it up. That would definitely be a question for Movement Mortgage or one of your mortgage partners. And I wouldn't even if I did know, this is where we got to know to stay in our lane. Things have changed so much that I wouldn't even speak on loans right now. I would be very general and I would guide them to the right professional. And Georgette, I would talk to somebody to ask them, is there another appraisal that comes out? Are they going to put money down or is there no money down on this?
It's no money down.
Okay. So in my experience, I believe it works very similarly to a VA loan where it is like put through the ringer. However, I am not 100% sure. And then you got to make sure that the product qualifies for it. So with the FHA loan or a VA loan, sometimes, well, not VA so much, but FHA, some products won't qualify. You can't do a FHA in this, let's say, community. I'm not sure if that loan is restricted as well. So I'm sorry I can't answer that, but I will tell you to ask the professional for sure. Okay, so help the buyer negotiate the term of the sale. I can't stand when it's just like, all right, so what do you want to do? Okay, so, well, they gave me this offer. They gave me this counter. Talk to your client, get a better counter offer, like figure out what's important. And we're going to talk about that next week is the negotiating and making the offer, but figure out what's important. So negotiating the terms, there's value in that if you're a good negotiator. If you're not a good negotiator, and there's a great book and it's called Never Split the Difference. Never split the difference. If you are looking to be a better negotiator, never split the difference. It was written by a hostage. I think he was in the FBI and he used to negotiate for hostages. So you got a life in your hands and you mess that up and the hostage dies. So there's really great lessons in there of how to get what you want while giving in to the other person, letting them feel what they're getting what they want. And ultimately you get what you want. Okay, so help with the price negotiations as well. And that would be for buyer or for seller. So don't think that you don't have to do a CMA for the buyer. A lot of times they want to know, well, what price should I go up to? Like, what's the max? Like, what should I not go up to? Well, I don't know, but how do you not know? Shame on you. Are you fiduciary or are you functionary? Functionary agent just says, well, whatever you want to put, I'll put. No. Fiduciary says, here's the comps, here's what it looks like. However, we got to remember this is a few months ago and the market's still ticking up. right? Let me call this agent and see, let me see if Georgette's listing that's around the corner that's under contract, let me see if she'll give me any information about when they're closing and if they're closing on time, and did they have any problems with the appraisal, and are they getting around the asking or over the asking. Let me call that agent and find out for you, Mr. Buyer. That is function. I mean, that is fiduciary, guys. And that is what I want you guys to be. Even if it's a text, right? A text to the agent. Hey, would love to have a quick call about your listing over here. Had a question about it. Now, you want to get somebody to pick up the phone, seller or agent. I have a question about your listing at 123 Main Street. I have a question about your home. Don't go giving them all what you got the question about, because they won't answer you. Get them. Get them. Can you please call me? I have a question about your home. I have a question about your listing. So, buyer needs analysis. This is in there. We went over this in last 2 sessions ago. But this is it. Who will be living in this home? List the adults. So now when we're doing the consultation, we're asking these things that should lead us to finding them the right house, knowing that we could maybe go 2 towns over and start looking over here, because what they're looking for in that price point is really over here and not so much where they're asking. What are the non-negotiables for your home? If you had to name your top 5 non-negotiables, what would they be? Right, they at 8. Okay, well, can you order them in 1 through 8? Let me see what you got. Right? Do you have a preference for the year of house? Now, can anybody speak to the years of houses that were built? Like, what do you get in a 60s, a 70s, and 80s, and 90s, a 20? Like, what? How do you explain that? Like, why would you be even asking? Do you have a preference for the year the house was built? Okay, so I'll give you my 2 cents. 2 things. One is maybe they like old houses, right? Maybe like me. I love old Victorian houses. I don't mind. I'm not afraid of a 100-year-old house. I like the character, the charm, the history, the feel. That's me, right? Somebody might say, "Oh, no, the house has got to be at least 1985." Right? That might just be somebody doesn't want an old house. They don't want old problems, and they don't want old souls coming with the house. Okay. The other part would be, and if you go and you do some Googling and you study, you'll see that there every time, just like just like us, we our bodies, and we kind of like adapt, right? The houses adapt to our lifestyles. So back in the day, let's just have shelter. Let's just get that thing up. They call it a shotgun house, where you could literally look through the door and see out the back. So if you do a study on all of the housing styles, you'll see, and you'll start to realize, like, that's a functionality, that the bedrooms were here and this was a very simple layout. Okay. But then you get into a little more current, the 50s and the 60s. It was a big time that women were home and the men went to work. And so the kitchen was a big thing. So you'll see lots of different things come into the kitchen in the 50s and the 60s. And you'll also see in the 60s, you'll see hardwood floor planks that are those 4-inch planks. You don't see them after that era. Like you don't find those wood planks anymore, the smaller ones, right? So even up into the 70s, were they building with that? And then in the 60s and the 70s, so there's a house in the 70s that all of the wiring was aluminum, because there was a war going on. The Vietnam War was going on, and they were using the copper for the guns, for the what do you call it, the bullets. So there was a copper shortage, and they used aluminum. Well, they didn't know aluminum was soft and it would cause fires, right? So some people will say, I don't want a house from the 70s, because then I'm going to have to pigtail and change out the whole electric, and that's going to be a lot of money, right? And then in the 70s, you actually had a master bedroom coming, a master bathroom, right? The main bathroom, the primary bedroom, had a bathroom. It was small, but it had a bathroom. And then you had the bathroom in the hallway for everybody else. And then when you got to the 80s, you had this main bedroom with this huge bathroom, huge walk-in closets, and they started taking space away from the other bedrooms. So you had smaller second and third and fourth bedrooms with this huge master in the 80s. You get to the 90s, you start seeing Jack and Jill bathrooms, you start seeing two-story entries, two-story family rooms, and now you just start studying all of that, and you realize that when you ask that question, it could lead to so much. And they're like, oh, wow, you kind of have a lot of knowledge about the area. And then where would you find those different ages of homes? So, all of these questions have purpose. Do you want a house in move-in condition, or are you willing to do some work? Now I'm going to ask that because if for the price, I know that these people are willing to put the money in, I might look lower to see if there's any fixer-uppers that if we're not finding anything in our pond, right? And when people visit your home, what do you want it to say about you? I love that question. I wanted to say it's cozy, it's warm, it's all right, maybe it's more of a classical look, maybe it's the decor, maybe it's the family room, maybe it's a fireplace. I wanted to say party, like we're having a good time in this house. Maybe it's the island with the big pool in the backyard that you're going to be like, this is the house, right? So what do you want it to say about you when people visit your home? And then are there any specific features that would make your next house feel like home? Well, it has to have back staircase. Okay, now we're looking for an old house, right? But it has to have has to have a kitchen where we could actually eat in kitchen. Okay, has to have a fireplace in the living room. Has to have a living room right off of the kitchen because I like to see my kids and my family while I'm prepping and they're in the living room. And then will you require accessibility options, right? So if you need the house to be customized. So buyers' lives change or buyers' world changes? Which are you going to be a part of? Right? Tough conversations versus fiduciary conversations, right? How do you deliver that they didn't get the house? And if anybody wants to share on that, any stories of having to deliver some tough conversations in this market, please raise your hand or unmute. It's not easy. I mean, I went into many nights going like, this is the house. They've done everything. They've put everything on the table, Lord. Like, this is their house. How could it not be? And then I get the phone call. No, there were 5 other offers that were better than yours. And I'm like, what? We were $50,000 over asking. Right. So that's a tough conversation to have. And yet, if you set expectations that good, bad, or indifferent, you're going to always hear from me. And then this is how I deliver. Like, well, when would we know that we get the offer or not? As soon as I hear, you hear. Okay, great. So you don't have to be stalking me. The minute that I hear from the agent, you're going to know, even if it's midnight, I'm going to text you. Right. So tough conversations equal fiduciary conversations. And even in your own personal, guys, Mo Anderson would share with us a love sandwich. A love sandwich goes a long way. Like, you know what, Mr. Buyer, like you've been doing such a great job going out there looking at houses. You did all the right things, you got the pre-approved. And the one thing is though, when we're getting to these houses and we're writing the offer, we're not getting aggressive enough. I don't, we're not putting an offer in to win and da 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 da. And so we really want to get you in a house. And so why don't we write that offer and so you're kind of bringing it back with the love. So it's like love, tough meat, love. There's also another way to address conversations. I think we talked about this in an earlier session called Fierce Conversations. And that's a book called Fierce Conversations by Susan Scott. That's another great book to follow. If you Google it, you'll see that there's different models of how to address a fierce conversation. And so if you have to address a fierce conversation, you may just want to follow that model. And so what other fierce conversations, hard conversations, tough conversations would you have? Is that they got knocked out, that you're in attorney review and somebody else came along and took the house, right? Or even just helping them talk through what do they do when the inspection report is so bad but they were like, this was their dream house. Sometimes the report is not that bad. They're just over exaggerating. They never owned a home. They're overthinking. And your job is then to come with solutions, right? Have that fiduciary, like, look, if you go back out and look for a house again, like I had to say to one of my buyers, 375 looks a lot smaller, maybe one less bedroom, a little less land. I don't think we want to go back out and look for another house. We've been in contract now for 2 months. So lots of houses have passed us by and the market has passed us by as well. And to that client, I said, look, at the end of the day, you're kind of stuck right now. If you hate it so much, let's put it back on the market in the spring. You'll probably make $25,000. Right? So there's still going to be an option. That's the tough conversation was I had to actually take the cookie away. Okay, fine. Live in it and then sell it. I don't care. But you're closing. All right. So, tough conversations. If you need me to do it for you, no problem. Where was the rescue? Gotcha. Okay, so show homes based on the needs analysis. When somebody says they want to go see a house and they told you they need to have 4 bedrooms and they really need to have 4 bedrooms because they have like 5 kids and they want to go look at a 3-bedroom house. Are we selling a child? What are we doing here? And it might be is one child leaving, like maybe one child's going to go live with a different parent, maybe one child's going to be going to college soon, so they're just thinking, could we temporarily do like basement bedroom? Ask questions, get clarity so that you're showing homes based on a needs analysis. And here's your best practices for your buyer is show only your best properties. That you should not need to show every house. I remember one of my best buyer consultations was done via Zoom in this year. And the expectations were super set. And the first house we went to, they bid $35,000 over asking. The first house. We went, we saw, we put the bid in. I'm like, oh my God, I think they're going to get the house. But they were so ready because I had prepped them. Great consultation, totally pre-approved, even talked through what does a payment look like at this, with this taxes, what about this, with this taxes. They were very clear on what it would cost them, and then we went looking. And I showed them only the best properties. I wasn't going to waste their time, and they didn't want to waste my time. 2, have MLS listing with price information and the key details, including disclosures. MLS listing, like have it printed out. I know a lot of us don't do that. Today, I was on the run. I did not do it. I felt a little lost. I needed to have my paper to write something on. So if you're doing it in the electronic world, that's great. But you're taking a buyer out. It's always nice to kind of print them out, put them in a packet and give them to them. And for you as the agent, you know, it's nice to rely on the phone. But what happens when the phone dies, right? And you're showing up to the combo box and you don't have the combo number because the phone died. Okay, real story. So write down the combo box on the MLS sheet when if you really want to be prepared, you know. Mark properties on a map. Oh, and one other thing, just from experience, is if you are working with multiple MLSs, your super key is only one key. It's on the phone. You have to make sure you've called the MLS and you call your main where you got your super key from, and they will add the other MLSs. And then you need to do an update on the phone, like update in the app. It's very simple. It takes a few minutes. But I'm there trying to show this best client the best house, and the door is not opening. And I'm like, what is going on? Well, because it was a Garden State lockbox on a property that was Middlesex or Garden State, and I didn't have Garden State on the box. I had Garden State MLS, but I didn't have Garden State on the MLS key box. So you make a quick call, they put it on, then I still couldn't open it, had to hit the update, and I was able to open it. So just don't be me. If you're going to go out and show, make sure all of your MLSs are on your Supra. Mark properties on a map. I also I encourage you, I do this all the time. I'll take a picture of it if I don't print it out. in the MLS, when you've identified the properties you're going to see, just clear it to just them, click on map so that you have a map view so you can best chart the showings, and then go ahead and make the make the times appropriate to where they are on the map. But then that gives people clarity as to where are we going, when are we starting, when are we finishing. Also, what I found with buyers, if they're coming from north, finish off with the last house up north so that they just go. Less likely to want to come back to the office to talk about more houses, right? Because the reality is, if they're going to write an offer, let's write an offer right at the diner, right by that house. Let's write an offer where I'm calling my transaction coordinator and I'm saying, can you please write me an offer on this property, blah, 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 blah. Or I'm texting it to somebody and they're typing it up, or I'm doing it when I get home and sending it over. So there's no need to come back to the office. So have them on their way, and that having a map will help you. Be knowledgeable about the property and the neighborhoods. Maybe you previewed just with your eyes on MLS, and then you did a little Google Earth. I love doing Google Earth because I can really see what's going on in the neighborhood. And then I feel like I've been there. Include recent comparable sales and point out potential issues or concerns with each house. Now, I don't really encourage you to go finding problems, but if there's a blatant issue, like, oh man, that driveway is all cracked up, they're going to see the driveway. I don't advise you going, eesh, look at that driveway. I say, oh, I have a driveway guy. Right? Solution. Don't come with the problem, come with the solution. Oh, we got a couple of vendors that are amazing with driveways. That's a real quick fix. Oh, the shingles are missing. That's a quick call to the roofer. They get up there, like, no big deal. Water. Oh, I see water. No big deal. We'll get it inspected. Right? So point out potential concerns or issues. And then showing homes means agent interaction. Okay. It means that that's your time to, like, bond. It's your time to show up. It's your time to show them how you work. And here are things that you might want to keep in a little kit. Some of us may have this in our trunk. Some of us may have it in a bag. Used to keep a plastic container in the back of my car with these types of things in it. It says sanitizing wipes, graphite for sticky locks, paperwork, contracts. Maybe you have them in folders. I used to have a buyer and a seller packet ready to go. So in case we needed to talk about the forms, hand wipes, sanitize, masks, shoes, beverages, snacks, umbrellas if it's going to rain, extra business cards, entertainment for the kids. Maybe it's coloring, maybe it's lollipops. First aid kit, somebody gets cut and falls down the stair, bleeding. I mean, right? So flashlight, really important. I know we have them on our phone, but if you have a big, powerful flashlight, a map, in case your phone goes dead and you don't have a charger, Hagstrom map or some sort of map, it's great to have. Tape measure, level, office supplies, paper goods, toilet paper, because God forbid you have to use the bathroom, a client has to use the bathroom, and it is a vacant house. I don't advise using the bathroom of people's houses. However, if you are in an emergency situation, let's be prepared. Okay. So safety first when showing homes. And look, there's the good old camera. So please be careful and make sure that the exits. My dad used to teach me always to walk around with a key in between my knuckles. It's just, my dad's from Newark, so I don't know. And God bless his soul. Today he's with the Lord 12 years. But so that was my thing, right? Do you have, is pepper spray might be totally illegal. I don't know. But what do you have to protect yourself? I got some girls over here in church that have this little thing that looks like it can stab somebody out. So I don't mean to scare you, but the truth is, we're realtors, guys. Think about it. Hi, I'm in a vacant home. Come see me all day. Well, there's nobody here, and you can just, think about it. So it is smart to be teamed up, but when you're showing houses, you don't always have that, you don't always have that opportunity. And I just please be mindful. And one of the things also is, if you're showing a property, once you get into the house and you're with your clients, you trust your clients, lock the front door. Don't leave it open while you're running around the house so somebody else can come in that isn't supposed to be there. when you're going in, you're showing a property and George, you look like you're a tall man. I don't know. You could be really short. I don't know. But when even for our bigger, stronger people, I'm walking down the stairs in the basement and I turn around as I'm explaining, oh, this is like they just redid the HVAC and it's amazing, blah, blah, blah. And I look up and I'm like, oh my God, there's these two huge guys standing at the top of the stairs of the basement. And for a moment, I felt funny because I was like, this is not a good position to be in. So I'm like, come down, come down. They came down, I got behind them and I started going back up the stairs. So my lesson there for you is let them go down the stairs. Doesn't matter who they are. You're the agent, let them go down the stairs first. You don't even need to really, go down, but let them go down first so that you're not stuck in a situation where you can't get out. And so all sorts of things you got to think like that. Not to be a Debbie Downer, but there you go. You're not selling homes, you're not showing homes, you're selling homes. And reasons buyers hesitate, let's just know what their mindset is. They're afraid to commit. Now they're afraid to commit to the house, they're afraid to commit to the person. I had a couple that we looked for a year and a half. It was them, it wasn't me, it wasn't the house. They weren't together after we stopped looking, ever. They both went their own ways. So sometimes it's not you, but understand buyers may hesitate because they're afraid to commit. They don't like maybe some minor details of the home. So you kind of have to get them to overcome that. You have to get some buy-in there. They feel that they haven't seen enough homes. I would, if that's the case, get them out right away, go see a few more and get that out of their system. Because if not, the whole transaction, they'll be thinking there's something better out there. And the truth is, there will always be a better house. There will always be, oh, I should have waited for that one. There will always be. So you turn it into a home. They need to sleep on it or get other opinions. Please don't get another opinion of a trusted advisor who's not looking at houses with us, right? We've talked about this. Are all the decision makers going to be there? That means looking for houses as well, right? So guidelines for facilitating their decision-making is go back to their motivation. But if you didn't have a great consultation, then you wouldn't be able to go back to the motivation. Go back to their needs and wants. Is that a need or is that a want? Because it sounds like it's a want. If it's a need, what are we taking off of the 5 needs and replacing that with? Advise them as a consultant. I'm a real estate consultant. You are a consultant. You are a real estate agent, but you're a consultant and a fiduciary. Right? Solve their challenges, calculate their cost of waiting. Now, that is a skill. If you can say to a buyer, like I said to this guy, you want to go look at another 375, it's going to get smaller and one less bedroom. I mean, I don't want to do that. You want to do that? No. He killed it right there. No, I don't. Right? So, what I'm so sorry. I just got this new message here. Sorry. Hold on. It's going back the wrong way. There you go. The cost of waiting for most people is going to be that they're not going to be able to get in is affordability. Okay. The cost of waiting is that they'll get outpriced the market. I'm going to show you guys a slide here that I showed this morning. And it shows 2% interest rate, 4%, 6%, 8%, 10%. How many buyers, how many households were in the market when it was 2% versus how many are in the market if it's 10%? I mean, every 2% we're knocking out so many families. So I don't know, show the buyer that graph and say, you want to wait, the interest rates don't seem to be going down. And if they go up, this is what happens. And you see how many more families. Are you part of that? Or you want to be one of those families? I don't want that for you. You want that for you? You said you got to be here by then because you have another baby coming. Or you said you got to be here by then because you got to get these kids into that school. Or you got to be here by then because he's retiring and, you just want to be there and enjoy the rest of your life. What's the cost of waiting? Cost of waiting may be that you never move. The cost of waiting may be that you spend an extra 100,000. Are you okay with that? I'm concerned for you, right? Create some urgency. And if you're looking for ways to create urgency, the Shift book, which I have posted, I will repost. The Shift book is a really great place to, there's a chapter called Create Urgency. Okay, so you can come up with different ways of creating urgency. So that is to finish up with the buyers. Does anybody have any ahas on working with buyers at a high level? Okay, so on the sellers, it's not that it's very similar because they're two different needs, right? They're two different motivations and end goals. One person is closing up a chapter, the next one is starting a new chapter, right? Even though they're closing this one up, they may be moving to a new one. But in that moment, they're closing up a chapter. And so we want to help them price the home competitively. And these look a little more equal, except for that other. But so the ones that are equal, they want you to price the home competitively. They want you to help sellers market the home to potential buyers. We do that, right? They want you to help sell the home within a specific time frame. So that's setting expectations with pricing and marketing. And then they want help finding ways to fix up the home to sell it for more. Or does it even make sense? So they want to see that, like, you know, if I put the rate, the return on investment, if they were to make some in upgrades. And so for a seller, it really is price, time frame, conveyance. And with a seller, at the end of the day, it's location, condition, and price. And when we are marketing that property to get the most amount of money with the least amount of hassle in the quickest amount of time, right? It's what this is. It's what the three are. That's the need. I want to convey the property as smooth as possible. I want it to happen as fast as possible. And I want it for the most money as possible. Let's not get that twisted. So when a seller is saying they're upset with something, it's one of these three things. It's not happening fast enough. It's too difficult to work with you, or they don't like the price that they're getting. Hello, Mr. Greg Wareham. We do have a question for you. Georgette had a question, and we'll get to that in just a second. Please feel free to chime in if you have anything you'd like to add here. So seller's life change or seller's world change? And when we,
There we go.
yeah, Nicole?
I do have an aha. For the buyers, I like the idea that you set a limit. Like, we're going to go out about 3 times, see houses, and then you'll choose. Because I feel like if you do, they'll just keep looking and looking and looking. And I love that idea to just set the boundaries right up front.
Yeah, thank you. Perfect. I'm glad that you got that, because it's us taking control. A lot of times people say, oh, I don't work with buyers. Oh, they're so this or they're so that. If you let them, you let them run rampant and do whatever they want and tell you what houses to look at and tell you what loan officer they're using and tell you if you let them do that, it will be very, very challenging. And you too will say, oh, I don't work with the buyers. I work with the sellers. But here's the deal. I don't know that many agents in this very interesting, challenging time with this new lawsuit and potential rules changing, right? Craig, I don't even know how to say that, right? So with all of that stuff happening, I'm not sure that a lot of agents are going to get on the buyer bandwagon, right? I'm pretty sure that there's going to be some agents that go, oh, that's just too difficult. I don't work with buyers. And I know that that sounds crazy, but right. So the ones who are professional in business, really running a business, we don't have an option. We're going to work with some buyers. Greg Wareham is working with some buyers. We have some loan officers that work with buyers that we're going to figure out how to get through this really weird time for buyers. But if you don't think buyers are going to want representation, you're out of your minds. And then we're going to have a lawsuit on the other end and it will flip everything back, right? Because then somebody will be saying, I wasn't represented and I got screwed. And you're like, okay, well, it was you guys that fought for this way, right? You didn't want to pay for that, right? So I do believe there's an opportunity for you to really sharpen your axe in working with buyers in the new way. It's going to give you also a nice clean slate of, well, that's how we used to do it and this is how we do it. right? Because everybody and their mother would tell me, oh, we don't really do buyer agency here. Yeah, we just let the listing agent pay for it. We don't do buyer agency here. Well, the rest of the country does buyer agency, and the listing agent also would collect that commission. But for some reason, the rest of the country thinks it's important that we would be protected. God forbid our client goes and finds a first buy owner or somebody who doesn't want to pay us. So we're going to get on that good foot. And I think everything that we just dove into is going to matter. So I hope you guys revisit it, use me as a resource. And Greg, Georgette had a question about USDA loan. And she was just wondering, Georgette, you can unmute yourself and go ahead and ask Greg specifically.
Hey,
Greg-
Georgette.
Hi, Greg. And Greg kind of touched on it before, but I wanted to hear from like an agent perspective, because as I mentioned before, that I have this couple that has a USDA loan that they got from a different mortgage company, and so they want a property, and then one agent told me that she would not even waste her time, accepting that type of mortgage.
So,
So if-
Georgette, can I ask Greg, why would an agent say that? What would I have to know as a listing agent or an agent that has a client that says, I have a USDA loan, I'd like to use it? What would I need to know? Why would my offer look different, and what should I be aware of?
Well, it probably starts with, Georgette, are they putting any money down or is it 0% down?
It's 0% down.
That's probably where it starts. Is just the fact they have no skin in the game on the transaction. USD, is the property in a valid USDA zone?
Yes.
Okay. So it's probably the 0% downs which really hurting them. I mean, if they can put
Well,
down, go ahead.
It's also probably the ignorance of the agent, and I'm saying that like really respectfully though, because I thought that's really all it would be. It just sounds kind of scary. So I was asking, does it get another inspection like the FHA loan? Is it really
No.
strict guidelines?
No,
Or if
USDA
the-
is a good loan. It's a good loan
Yeah.
with 0% down, but I would say it's the same reason. Think about it. It's hard to get a VA loan accepted with 0% down
Right.
because it's in this particular market. In USDA, I mean, to Mary Beth's point, it's the ignorance. Like that's not a really popular loan. So that doesn't, and the reason it's not popular isn't because it's not a good loan. It's a government-backed loan. You put down 0%, limited PMI, or they charge some other fee. It's not really called PMI. And it's only eligible in very specific property locations. So as an example, so everyone knows, like you could literally bring up the USDA map, and my house could be USDA approved. My next door neighbor's house may not be. So you
Okay.
literally have to drop down to the property address to see whether or not it's eligible. So as a
Okay.
result of that, agents never see it. Very infrequently see it. I mean, Mary Beth, you've seen it because you've been in the industry for such a long
Yeah.
time.
But
you
not
just-
even that much, to be honest, not even
Yeah.
that much. And I think I maybe only dealt with a VA loan 3 times in 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I encourage people, use your VA loan. I mean, come on, it's free money. Georgette, Greg, to that point though, and everybody, this is what we're going to get challenged with, right? Does the buyer even have liquid cash to come up with to put down? And what if they got to pay our commission and money down? That's where we're going to have a challenge. Yet, if they have family member that might be able to lend them money to put up, if they have money in the bank, but they just don't want to put it down, but they could at least put it up in contract so that the seller feels like, okay, this buyer has some skin in the game. At least we have $10,000 that's sitting in escrow or $20,000 sitting in escrow. Even though the buyer is going to get it back at closing, it might just be what the seller needs so that they feel comfortable. Because the truth is that USDA borrower is still going to have some closing costs. That FHA or VA loan is still going to have closing costs. So maybe the money that they put up is just their deposit towards what they need to pay for closing costs. And they're willing to put it up so that they get a house. Otherwise, what's the option? No, you don't have to put up anything, but you're also not getting looked at all.
That's actually a really great point because you are going to need money for closing costs. So that $10,000 you're putting up is going to go right towards your closing costs because the deal can't get killed because you decided to put down 0% if you provide a valid mortgage commitment.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay. So, just going into the sellers, we'll go a little faster with this though. Sellers control price and condition, right? They absolutely can choose their price and they can choose their condition. They cannot choose their location. So that's the stuff that we have to work with. If they want to fix everything that they can about condition, well, then just think about that, Mr. Seller. You're going to spend X amount of dollars to raise the price X amount of dollars in hopes that you'll get it. Does it make sense? Sometimes it makes a lot of sense. And sometimes it makes no sense at all. It's just time on the market that we do not have to waste. And not so much because we don't think the prices are going to continue to rise, but so much because we think the buyers are going to more so disappear faster than the prices are going to rise. So if we have nobody really out there buying the house, we may get into a challenge. And then who the heck knows? Sensitive seller conversations. So how do we do that? We do it the same way we have sensitive buyer conversations. And with sensitive seller conversations, what might be some of those? Here are a few that I've had. Sensitive seller conversations, setting expectations that when people are showing the house, they're not there. But it's my home, but I can't be here, right? So that's a sensitive seller conversation. They have a teenage daughter, and you would advise them to not have her be home alone when we have people showing the house. Hence, somebody coming out of the bathroom in a towel thinking she's so cute, and it's not so cute when I'm showing a nice family the house in Manalapan, hence 15 years ago, right? So, I mean, those are things that I don't want to have the dad calling me saying that there's a problem. Other sensitive conversations, put the pills away, hide the this, take the jewelry, the guns. How do you say that to somebody and not think that you're telling them what to? You have to sell the benefit. The feel, felt, found conversation, guys. I understand how you feel, George. You don't want to put those guns away. You know, a lot of sellers that have a collection or have a room like this. I had a seller once that she goes, "No, you don't want to go in there." I go, "What do you mean I don't want to go in there? You don't want to go in there?" I said, "I have to go in there. It's the only other bedroom up here. It's not a bedroom." I went in that room. It was lined. He was a hunter. It was lined with rifles, shotguns, bows and arrows, everything. It had multiple locks on the doors. But that was not going to be a room that we were going to be showing. And I really wasn't even comfortable with that even being in the house that way. Okay. We only stood on the market for a little while with other challenges as well. However, those are conversations where you're telling somebody how to live. You're saying that there's a problem with their stuff. So you have to sell the benefit, or, hey, what we found is that, you know, some people are scared of the deer head. Some people are, you know, uncomfortable with the guns. Or unfortunately, we've seen accidents happen. The pills that are in the cabinet, and then somebody stealing the pills, and then we have an overdose. We don't want to get into that, right? This is why I'm asking you to do this. Well, I didn't, you know, our brokerage, our brokerage requires our sellers to do that, you know, blame it on the brokerage, blame it on your coach. And, you know, another thing would be the way the house needs to show, right? So how do you broach that? There have been times where I have personally paid for a cleaning company to come and do a deep clean in a house. Now, the seller should be paying for that for sure. It just depends on, did they go for the 3% commission or the 5% commission? I mean, you know, well, I'm not saying 5% to me, but which commission package did they go for? But if not, then I'm telling them that we are going to need to have a cleaning crew here before the pictures are taken on Friday. Do you need some references? Right? So, and decluttering for a seller may be challenging. And with the decluttering, if you have a truck, if you have a box truck, I think I saw one on Route 9 somewhere sitting with the West Monmouth logo on it. So somebody's got a box truck around here. I'd say, hey, I can maybe get you 2 hours with the box truck and they can get everything out of here. Would that be helpful to get this started? Because I know you're going to be getting all of this stuff out of here, right? Right. So how do we have those tough conversations? We just do. And we set expectations just the way we did with our buyers. And we provide strong foundation for a sustaining relationship, which means we got communication going. We create peace of mind for our clients, knowing that we got a lot of this covered. And all of this enhances your credibility. Okay. Number 2 is the most important, which is setting and managing expectations. And it even goes down to how often you're going to speak to them, when you're going to speak to them, what kind of feedback they're going to even receive. Right. And this one here, this one is so important. When you have your listing agreement, there are multiple pages in the back of the listing agreement that go through, the attorney memorandum, the general attorney memorandum. And so you want to kind of point that out to your client. But what do you do if a client violates fair housing laws? Right? You remind them about it, maybe give them some grace. Maybe they just had a moment of dumbness. You discontinue representation of the client. I can't represent you. I cannot represent you. You have violated the housing laws. You report the incident to your broker. You tell us about it. You don't just keep it quiet. Here's what happened. I have it documented. I sent it out in an email also, and I'd like us to document it. Fully document the situation. Consult an attorney if uncertain. And all of our offices do have somebody on retainer, in case. So maybe there's and all of our our attorneys that are on our vendors list would answer these questions also. If you have a question, if you don't know if they crossed the lines, but you think that they did. Okay. I remember I had a seller tell me that this person and that person and this person and that person, they can't buy his house. And anybody that looks like those people can't buy this house. And I said, well, I'm going to have to not take this listing because I can't work under those conditions. Okay. So that is how simple it is. I cannot take the listing. I cannot service this client because you've crossed the fair housing. Now, no commissions worth your reputation. This is the Y4C2TEs. Win-win, no deal, integrity, do the right thing, customers, commitment, communication, creativity, teamwork, together. Everyone achieves more. Trust starts with honesty. We can't have trust if we're not honest. And that's what I will say to clients a lot. You hired me to be honest with you. That's one of the number one things that buyers and sellers most want is honesty, loyalty. I'm going to tell you what you don't want to hear. I'm going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm just going to tell you the truth. Right? And then when you got to tell them that hard thing, hey, remember that time we were talking about the truth, how sometimes it hurts? Well, that time's like this time. So can we have a conversation? Can we have it privately? And that too, private conversations. You're not going to address a seller in front of another agent about something. I mean, I shouldn't have to say that. But even if their adult kids are there, if the contract is between the parents, you don't need to involve everybody in what you need to tell them. So trust, equity, opportunities for all, and success results through people. Then you're sharing with them your 14-step marketing plan. If you look inside of the listing presentation that you find in Command, you will see that there is a 14-step marketing plan for listings. My advice to you, take a look at those 14 steps and tell me how many steps you have. Mine wound up being a 13-step or a 12-step sometimes. I wasn't going to do a virtual tour for every listing. That wasn't necessary. So I took it right out. I changed the language in a couple of those steps. I wasn't committed to the whole thing. Right? So capitalize on your listings by marketing your brands at the same time to bring in more listings and more buyers, because listings bring leads. Because what do the buyers say? The buyers said they want listings. The buyers said they want you to find their home. So what are they looking for? They're looking for a home. So if you're out there advertising your homes with your brand, that's going to bring you leads. So that's why listings is so important. And where do you get listings from? Leads. So leads to listings to leverage. And those are the 3 L's. Greg, would you mind just reading this for me?
The message you put out to attract prospective buyers and sellers is everything. Why would they want to contact you in this market? What would they get if they did? These 2 questions are at the heart of all effective messaging.
Yeah. Why am I going to call that person? Like, why would I pick up the phone? Why would I click the button? It's all about what they're going to get from you. So make sure your message is clear, right? Your MLS listing reflects your brand. So get it right. Go look at some of the listings, right? Do you have all the documents uploaded? Do you have your seller's disclosure uploaded? Is the lead-based paint correct? Utilize the right professionals to get pictures and floor plans. Motion City. If anybody else has anybody else, please go ahead and, put that in the chat, but get somebody professional. They're not that expensive. And then set the right schedule for your listing. And when we talk about that, if you take a class called Win with Sellers, we dive a little bit more into that. And it's about knowing what that 30-day calendar looks like for a launching of a listing. You're launching a listing, and what are you going to do the week before it launches? What are you going to do the week it launches, the weekend it launches, the following weekend it launches? How are you going to handle multiple offers? All of that should be set on a schedule. Now, this is easy. Import the data directly from KWLS. We don't have to do the KWLS thing anymore. It happens to just show up in command, which is amazing. And you can do all the marketing right through there. Proper signage. Like, I've driven past some people's listings and I'm like, what? Like, what is going on there? So have a nice sign. Go to if you go to Oakley Signs, we have a store for pretty much all of the offices. And actually, I don't know that KW by the Bay, we have a store there for that. But there's proper signage. If arrow directionals, the hanging one, the post, your name, make sure people can get in touch with you. Sometimes people will have that text here to get the information. So really think about that. Sign is great marketing for you, your brand, and your listing. And that sign is going to be there not just for a few weeks. The sign is going to be there the whole course of the listing. So the sign should be telling everybody in the neighborhood where it's at. So right now it's for sale. Then you're doing an open house. Get riders, put the riders on it, right? So you have an open house, you have it for sale. When it goes under contract, throw an under contract up there. Maybe on the bottom, you say, if you have a listing, what's your home worth? And you put a little QR code. Maybe you put that right on the sign. What's your home worth with the QR code? Anybody that's in the neighborhood, they want to know what their home is worth. They QR code you. You got their information. You know it's coming off of that sign. Listing leads, listing leads. Okay. And lastly, but not least, is success with the co-agents. This people do not respect. And that is probably where some of your best agents that you see in the market have had some of the best successes. Because guess what? I can call some of our top agents and say, how much did you sell that property for? What are you getting for? How many showings did you have? I can call one of our agents that's been around for a while and say, I have an offer. I know you have 20 offers. I just want you to know it's me. Hi, it's me. I'm sending mine in. Please let me know if I can do anything to make this deal with you. And guess what? Sometimes I'm looking at Greg, Kamisi, me, and George. All four of us have the same offer. And Kim looks at the offers. Same offer, same mortgage company, even the attorney she knows. And she's like, who should I go with? And she goes, Mary Beth's going to get the deal done because I've worked with her before. I know her in the marketplace. I know she's not going to let this client down. So when I have to give my opinion to the seller and they say, here, there's 4 offers, identical, but these 2 agents, I did amazing transactions with. These 2, I don't know them. I'm just going to be honest. They're going to have a little bit of an edge. Somebody's in a transaction with me right now because I trust that he's going to get the deal done. So working with your co-agents, that means respond. Just respond. If they text you, if they call you, if you call them, respond. If you're at an open house and they come through with the client, don't act all weird. Oh, it's such a pleasure meeting you. Oh, don't put them down. Don't say to them, what company? Oh, why are you with that company? No, they chose that company just like you chose your company. So that's insulting them. Don't say something about another agent to an agent that's there. Don't start to commiserate with me and George are at the open house and we're like, that Kim Matthews, oh my gosh. Have you ever worked with her? Don't do that because then here comes Hamisi walking in. He's best friends with Kim. And he's like, don't talk to George and Mary, but from KW over there, they're talking crap about you at that listing. And this is real life stuff, guys. So I'm just saying we're all human. We're all real people. We go out, we talk. Be careful. Be careful who you chat with. And some of us who have been in the business for a long time, Greg, myself, I'm sure we do dinner and, drinks with couples that are in the business, attorneys, mortgage, title. and you never know who's going to know who, right? So you should really always be careful, and you never know who's going to be on the other side of your next deal. So just saying, all 4 deals brought to Kim. Kim only chooses one. She chooses me. The other 3 should not be getting all mad with Kim, because guess what? When my deal dies, and now Hamisi threw a fit with Kim, how dare you kick my offer out? You said that we had it and I didn't. Well, but Hamisi, I didn't know these other 3 offers were going to come in and blow your offer out of the water. And now Hamisi's throwing a fit and he says a couple choice words. And Kim writes in her contacts, she edits his contact and says, jerk with the bad mouth, right? I'm just saying, this is just what happens. So now she's got to go pick a new offer because I'm not there anymore. You think Hamisi's in the runnings? He's out. All because he ran his mouth when he didn't get the first deal. So Hamisi would never do that, but I'm just saying it happens. And sometimes we just have our worst days and we show up not as our best self. So if you do that, an apology goes a long way. Just another side note, had a bad experience with an agent just a few months ago. And the aftermath of that was their clients got some edible arrangements from me. So there's also ways to kind of clean up aisle 9 when you do make a little mess, but just try to make less messes. All right. So guys, that is on servicing buyers and sellers. And then we kind of just threw in there the co-agent and as well as the vendors as well. On the co-agents and the vendors, introducing yourselves, putting together a introduction email to the buyer or seller when you're presenting offers and saying, hey, here are all the professionals we're working with. That's also a really nice way to let everybody know that everybody's team get this deal to the closing table and everybody can see everybody on the emails. We just closed a transaction with Movement Mortgage last week last week. And it was very impressive. 81 emails. We never jumped off the email chain. Everybody just kept communicating all the way to the closing table. And so 81 emails later, everybody was on board and we did have a lot of challenges, but 2 agents and 2 attorneys worked together tremendously to get these clients closed. I honestly don't even think the clients understand or appreciate how much was done on our ends. We do. And so, we'll just continue to ask for those referrals because to them, it was really a smooth transaction. To us, we're like, I guess I'll run around and get that. I guess I'll run around and get that. And they're like, oh, are we ready to close? Yeah, sure. Close. So, all right, guys. I kept you a little bit longer. Greg, do you have anything you want to say to these guys before we get out of here?
Just take a look at your email. I sent everyone some information about the $22,000 first time home buyer grant.
Oh, yes.
In New Jersey, they increased it from 15 to 22 for certain individuals. So if you have any questions about it, or you want to understand all the parameters, just give me a call.
Thank you so much. And the closing that we had last week did close with the 15,000 New Jersey grant.
Great.
So that guy bought that 375 house for literally just $10,000 out of pocket, including closing costs.
Great.
Changing lives, changing worlds, right? All right, guys. We'll be back here on Monday. Next week is our last week. We're going to combine the last 4 sessions into 2 sessions. So on Monday, we'll be talking a lot about negotiating, writing offers. And then on Wednesday, we'll be talking about closing and post-closing. So I really encourage you guys to be here with me for the last 2 days. I'm going to miss you. But have a great rest of the week, and I'll see you back here on Monday. Have a great night, guys.
Everyone, bye-bye.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.